Christianity was birthed in the Middle East. By 600 AD, the majority of people in the Middle East and North Africa were Christians. But today, over 1,000 years later, only 1% of the population is Christian. 99% are Muslim. It was in this environment that Salma became a believer in Jesus after her son was born. It was tough in a place where sharing your faith could lead to death. But Salma knew she needed to fear God more than men, that she had a faith worth sharing. Her son watched his mother lead other women and their families to Jesus, and he wanted to copy her. So at age 4, he shared his faith with whoever would listen on the streets of Baghdad, Iraq. That got him kidnapped, persecuted, and tortured. As his family moved across the Middle East and North Africa, the same thing kept happening to him. He grew to hate Muslims. When he was a teenager, his parents sent him to the US as an international student to get away from all that persecution. In the US, he transferred all of his hate and anger to God. He figured if God was real, he wouldn't have allowed all that persecution to happen to him as an innocent child. He lived a sinful lifestyle. He was married, divorced, had kids. Salma grieved over what was happening to her son. And even though she knew no English, she immigrated to the US, learned English, and shared her faith with her grandkids. In the process, God used her to woo her son back to the Lord. Salma is my mother. I am that son. Now, after founding iHOPE Ministries, I'm serving the God I once denied as an instrument of His redeeming love with the very people I once hated.
While Renaud was being persecuted by Muslims as a kid in the Middle East, I was growing up on a farm in America's heartland. It was a time when 93% of Americans called themselves Christian. So as a kid, I didn't even know that there were people of other faiths and cultures because all of my friends were either Baptists or Methodists. A lot has changed. Now in the United States, about 63% of Americans say that they're Christian, and only about 4% have a biblical worldview. Not only that, God has brought the nations to us. Within a 15-minute driving radius of where we live, there are 20 mosques, 5 Buddhist temples, and 2 Hindu temples. And that doesn't include those who are secular and atheists living among us. God has brought immigrants, refugees, and international students right to our own backyards from some of the world's least reached nations. They don't know about salvation in Jesus, and they're just raising up their kids to follow God as they know Him. Maybe some live in your neighborhood, or are coworkers, classmates, or friends. God is not far from them because you live there.
But there's a problem. Most everyday Christians like you and me lack the desire or skills to reach them. God has opened my eyes to see that what happened in the Middle East and North Africa, from being a predominantly Christian region to now 99% non-Christian, that could happen here if we don't get involved.
That is why we birthed ETHNOS. The word ethnos is Greek for people, nations, tribes.
Together, we can embolden more everyday believers with simple ways to be authentic witnesses in our everyday life to the nations that live among us.
The curriculum that you're about to walk through has been 15 years in the making. Tens of thousands of Christians have walked through the concepts and have put them into practice, and you can too. God has placed us here on earth in this generation for this purpose.
Just as my mother's faith and boldness set the trajectory for my life and the life of my family, you hold the key to the faith of future generations. Will you accept the challenge?